Hmm. Good morning, and we are live. Man, I tell you, I feel good. After a week of hell, it feels good to feel good again. I am crazy shit going on this morning, and we should have a guest joining us later. Congressman, the Honorable Congresswoman Julie Johnson from Texas should be joining us later to talk about all of the insanity that's going on with ICE, all of the craziness. Um, we're waiting for her to come up, make sure nothing happened there, because there are a lot of machinations going on the Hill right now. It is something else right now. So let's just go ahead and dig into some of the breaking news. Let's hit it. Man, I'm telling you what, I woke up first thing this morning, got one bit of breaking news. It was just off the hook. Then this just happened. This just happened. Luigi Mangione will not be facing murder charges. Yeah, really. That just happened. U.S. District Judge Margaret Garnett just dismissed the murder charge against Luigi Mangione. That's not a walk. That is not a walk at all for him. It just means he will not be facing the death penalty. Prosecutors were just bound and determined that they were going to charge him with the death penalty over killing the CEO of United Healthcare, but that did not happen. He still faces one count of discharging a firearm with a silencer and the furtherance of a crime of violence, and 2 counts of interstate stalking resulting in death. So I don't want to give you the notion, a lot of the posts I'm seeing online about this, they're kind of giving a false sense of hope to this, that like somehow Luigi Mangione walks. He does not. He does not. The stalking counts alone both carry life sentences. So yeah, that's double life right there if he gets convicted. But he will not face the death penalty. And the reason for that is the way the statute is written. To face the death penalty for murder, it must be involve another violent crime. Not just another crime, another violent crime. The prosecutors, and again, I don't understand the stupidity here. These are clear. This isn't debatable stuff. This is clear. The law's very clear. It's got to be another violent crime that this act of violence itself is tied to, or it does not qualify for the death penalty. Stalking in and of itself, while it can lead to violence, is not a violent crime. So the judge said, look, we're not going to play this game. It's out. It's out. You don't have another violent crime to tie this to. The statute's clear. We're not doing this. You don't get a bite at that apple. So yeah, Luigi Mangione is not looking at dying over this. Some people, I have to tell you, our community is very split on this. Part of our community is very team Luigi. Any good news he gets is good news for them. And part of our community is like, look, this dude murdered somebody. So yeah, you'll probably end up seeing it in this in the chat. People go in different directions. But yeah, that's not the only breaking news that we have this morning. Abel, this weekend marks my first 1 year anniversary in this amazing community. Raising my cup of Biddy and Bose to y'all. All right, good to see you here. Biddy and Bose is a great organization. Hope your coffee's as good as mine. Hell, I hope it's better. I really do. I really do. All right. All right. We got a couple comments coming in this morning already. Spicy Jester MAGA Republicans are the new mafia. Extortion is how they do business, either by lawsuits or holding up legislation. Give them millions or even billions, or they will break the taxpayers' legs. Yep. Yep. That is the whole gist of the show today is exactly what you're talking about. But before we get to that, this happened. This bit of breaking news happened. After a magistrate judge refused to charge Don Lemon with a crime and have him arrested, the Department of Justice have arrested Don Lemon. And at this point, I have not yet seen, they haven't disclosed what they arrested him for. Nothing is being disclosed to the public at this point. I will double check just to back that up to make sure there hasn't been any new breaking news on that, because this just happened this morning. Hakeem Jeffries has come out and condemned it. That's breaking. We've got a statement from Hakeem Jeffries, that's Speaker, not yet Speaker, but Minority Leader Jeffries has come out and condemned it. He says Don Lemon is an accomplished journalist whose urgent work is protected by the First Amendment. There is zero basis to arrest him, and he should be freed immediately. The Trump Justice Department is illegitimate, and these extremists will all be held accountable for their crimes against the Constitution. Wow, that's a direct threat from the next speaker and the next Speaker of the House. Way to go. Way to go, Congressman Jeffries. Let me see if we can find anything else about charges, because when I was looking this morning, there was nothing on charges. No, just says taken into custody, nothing about and charged. Yeah, same information. They yeah. District Judge Patrick Slitz had refused to sign off on charges against Lemon and one of his producers, and then boom, nothing. Federal indictment charging Lemon was not available. So yeah, crazy, man. Can't be a journalist anymore, apparently. Not in this fascist era that we live in. This is insane, people. I mean, it's just insane. These people just, and Republicans aren't doing shit about it. They really aren't. They don't give a damn about the Constitution. They don't give a damn about laws. None of it. They don't care about any of it. I just, let me put this down. I just look at this. I'm getting some notes here. 1 second. No charges. Yeah, still no charges. Scott 79 says, how about Apple dumping gang trying to take over the Ecuador consulate? I know we talked about it on the last show. It's just they're so stupidly incompetent that they just do terrible things. I can't even begin to think of what federal charge. I've been racking my brain on that. I can't think of what are you charging Don Lemon with? I mean, trespassing? Maybe? There is no federal trespassing charge involved. This was a local Minnesota church. What what are you charging him with? Terrorism? I mean, really? The guy openly said, "Look, I'm not with these people. I am filming what's going on. They've poured into this church. You need to see what they're doing in this church." That's it. That's what journalists do. Now, because they are so screwed over everything that's going on with ICE, their numbers are plummeting in immigration. They're terrified of the Epstein files making resurgence. That they're just going to do this. They're just going to violate. So just like they murdered somebody on the street, they're just going to violate this guy's civil rights and arrest him. You know, just to harass the guy. Just to harass this guy. That's a crime. Don't these people understand? Using your office to do something like this is a crime. They're gonna face charges for this. I don't know what deluded universe they're living in, but they're going to face charges for this. Skeet's there, nothing new here. James Comey was arrested for BS as well. Yep. One thing after another after another. And the Trump regime will be humiliated. Everyone, Don Lemon has no severe medical issues, nor is he suicidal. Keep that in mind. Great point. Great point. Farida says, I'm curious about this arrest. What the fuck is happening? They can arrest someone just for the heck of it? Sorry, Texas Paul. I'm just so outraged. No, I think everybody is. I think everybody is. There you go. Fourth Reich stuff. Yeah. Cantissa Hood always coming strong with the comments. Lily Weeks, Lindsey Graham is trying to blow up the deal they came to last night. Yep, they are. He is. Lindsey wants his money. He's trying to put that shit back in the horse this morning. He's still blocking it. But last night, it was clear he was blocking it because he wanted his money. He wanted his $500,000 payout, or this sucks. Today, he's telling Fox News he's blocking it because it's a bad deal. It's a bad deal. But yeah, what I'm talking about, Lindsey Graham wanting his money, you got to go back to, remember the Republicans they actually passed it. The bill through that said if they were investigated by Jack Smith during the January 6th insurrection investigation, if he looked at their phone records, you remember he got their phone logs. They always tried to portray it as their phones were tapped. They were never tapped. All he got was phone records. If Jack Smith looked at their phone records, which he was legally entitled to do because, hey, the January 6th insurrection was about stealing an election, and it was done in coordination with Republicans in Congress. I mean, you remember Mike Pence hiding out in the garage with the Secret Service agents. This was about coordinating with Congress. I mean, one second. You remember Chuck Grassley? I'm not even going to bring it up. I was going to go find an old article. You remember Chuck Grassley saying, "Oh, I'll be your Huckleberry. I'll sit in for Mike Pence. He don't want to do this, and we'll go ahead and we'll table the acceptance of these results, and we'll have an investigation that would actually sunset through the period in which Donald Trump just gets reappointed by Congress. Y'all remember that whole thing? Yeah. Well, they investigated that, and Congress was part of it, and they are wanting some payola, man. So they passed some legislation that said, hey, give us $500,000. Give us $500,000 if you looked at our phone records in that investigation. Well, that got hauled away. And our guest that just popped in could tell you a lot more about that than this. But what you've got is Miss Lindsey trying to blow up the budget deal they put in place so that he can get that put back into the bill and get his money. Please welcome to the stage the honorable, the amazing, the incredible Congresswoman Julie Johnson from Texas.
Oh, my friend, it's so good to see you. You know your age when that I'm called a technology immigrant because I was in my 20s when I got my first computer, and I'm sitting back here going, I've been backstage listening to you, but I realized I didn't click the right button. So I've been hanging out here going, hello. But here we are. So
don't sweat it. It happens all the time.
It's so good to see you and to be with all of you again. I love Texas Paul. I don't know if many of you all know this, but he did his due diligence and he came up to DC and, came up and hung out with us up there and stormed the Capitol. It was great.
Yeah, that's why every time I turn around, these people that are these anti-Democrat accounts that pretend to be leftists keep telling me I'm a shield for the Democratic Party. I'm a paid By the way, what the hell is up with that? I ain't got that check yet. Apparently no, I do what I do for my children. I do what I do for my grandchildren. And yes, I will fly my fat ass all the way up to Washington, D.C. so I can get firsthand information from people on what they're looking at. And I'm telling you, last night we had a deal. We did. We had a deal. DHS funding was pulled out of the bill. Senator Schumer, I got to give him props, man. Expert negotiating there. Great job. Took all the hostages off the table, because that's something I've tried to explain to people. Congressman Johnson, maybe you can make it more clear that shutdowns don't work in our favor because we're not psychopaths. We don't just hurt people for no reason.
Well, yeah. The thing about the government and the way it works is, I'm just going to take 2 steps back and just do a little explanatory moment on how the appropriations process works. Hello, everyone. I'm Julie Johnson. Texas is 32, running in the new 33 now that we have all this gerrymandering hot mess happening. Join our conversation. But the appropriations process is 12 appropriations bills. And the appropriations committee has different subcommittees that focus on the interior, on natural resources, on energy, on all defense, on health and human services, all the aspects of the government. And then they each put forth a comprehensive, appropriations package and, So last week in the House, in October when we had the shutdown, none of those appropriations bills had been passed. So the entire government shut down and nothing could function because nothing was funded. Since that time, we have done what they call mini bus, which is 3 or 4 of those 12 groupings put together, and we'll pass them as a group. And so we have been doing that. And so most of the government is funded. And so what was left are these last 6 of the 12. And we passed. And so the House, they broke it out. They did the 5 and then DHS, because DHS is obviously the most controversial. And so the House passed the 5, because there's a lot of good stuff in that 5. There's a lot of stuff for funding for all kinds of things that we care about. Small business, kids, education, health, just lots of things are in these other aspects. And so we passed that. And then we broke out the DHS, and I voted no. I voted against funding ICE. I think it's out of control. It's unhinged. I sit on Department of Homeland Security. I've had these folks come and testify to our committee. And it's just outrageous what's happening. And so the Senate, what they were initially going to do is bundle them all together and say, no, we're going to make you vote against all of these other good things if you're going to kill all of it. And that always puts the Democrats in a tough spot because there's a lot of good stuff there that we want to have passed. And there's a lot of programs that are riding on that are important. And so the House broke it out and the Senate was going to glob it together. And so Schumer was able to get the Senate to decouple those as well, just exactly as we did it in the House, to really put the laser focus on the part that needs to have this laser focus, which is the constitutional crisis that our country is finding itself in because of the gross overreach of ICE right now. And so now we have 2 weeks. So they're going to bundle this together. But Lindsey Graham is throwing his personal, I haven't got paid pity party yet. But I think ultimately he'll probably cave on that. The pressure from Trump is going to be too great. He's never demonstrated an ability to hold up to that man ever. He's always caved. Trump is going to call him and say, Lindsey, get on board. And he's going to go, yes, sir. How fast? I think he'll ultimately back this down. And all he's doing in the process, I think, is highlighting the brazen corruption that the Senate put forth to go get a personal paycheck from the federal government. It's not airing well for him. But then we'll have 2 weeks to go back to Congress and argue about ICE. And so let me just tell you. So next on February 10th, as I said on Homeland Security, the head of ICE, the head of DHS, they're all coming to testify before our committee. And so, I'll have to come back on and give you a full debrief of what happened. Let everybody know. And likewise, if you have some burning thing you want me to ask the head of ICE, I'm welcome to your comments. Please, please blow it up over here. I can be your direct line to these fools. But
blow it up, people. You got a congressman here. You want her to ask something, put it out there. And I do want to ask you, about 3 weeks before we saw this coming. So about 3 weeks before it started to happen, I started messaging my ass off. So everybody that's watching you today understands the pitfalls of a shutdown. But one of the things I'm facing is that you've got these people, and Blue Sky is the worst. I love Blue Sky and the passion that's on it and the young people that are on it, but the confidence that they have without any understanding of the process or the reality of the situation on the ground just drives me nuts. And they're not willing to listen to us old fuckers like me, and it just pisses me off. But this is what I've explained to people. Look, this is the Republicans. We say their government shuts down. 1.5 million people aren't getting a paycheck. TSA agents are working without a paycheck. You got tons of people that are vital that are working without a paycheck. And then you got people that are just government employees, ain't getting paid. Not at all. This is the Republicans with their box of popcorn. Because they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. They don't. And we Democrats, then you throw it out there and you say, okay, look, here comes Congresswoman Johnson. Look, I got this proposal for you. No. And that goes on and on. And they just sit there and eat their popcorn and on and on. And finally, we Democrats say, okay, there's no deal to be made here. They don't give a shit if the government is shut down. Just open the government back up. We're not going to hurt people for 6 months, over this. We're not psychopaths. If there's nothing to be gained from these people for shutting the government down, why shut the government down? You do your job, take care of the people. And then all of a sudden, I got all these political geniuses out there on Blue Sky that are like, well, the Democrats caved because they believe just shutting down the government means you win. Oh, I win. It's an I win button, but it's not.
I brought a coffee cup today that I think is a perfect response to what you were just saying, if I may show it to you. What the fuck? What? And I cannot stress this enough.
No, the fuck. Yeah.
You might like it. I know. The thing is, it is hard. Sometimes the Democratic coalition is very vast. And, you try to make thoughtful decisions. And one of the hardest things is you can never make everybody happy. Either the more conservative side of our party says you've lost your mind, or the far left side of the party ankle bites you to death because you're not, doing enough. And we cannot seem to get on page in the fact that we are not in control right now. And we are not going to be able to turn this government around until we are in control. And so we have to maximize the tools that we have. We have to maximize the leverage that we have. And the biggest tool that we have to fight back what is happening is the outrage of the American people spoken in solidarity, single voice. And I'm going to give you two examples of that. The Epstein files. The Republicans pushed back on Epstein, but you know what, Democrats, we had hearing, we had the survivors, we pounded. I came on your thing. We all went everywhere talking about sexual assault of women and how this cannot be allowed to stand. And the people responded and pushed back on their members of Congress such that we got that discharge petition through. And when it came to a vote in the House, every Republican but one voted for it. They all caved on their Epstein file rules. Now, they haven't continued to follow through on it, but it was the public. Again, look at the Affordable Care Act, the shutdown you were just referring to. People desperately need their health care. And we Democrats, I came on your show, we came everywhere, we talked how important healthcare is. And people were getting their notices that their healthcare premiums were going to triple and be so unaffordable. People are going to have to make terrible choices of their priorities. And the people pushed back, and the people pressured these Republicans and these members of Congress to say, no, we want our healthcare. It was the unanimous voice of the people. And then, again, through a discharge petition, Republicans signed on, and we passed a 3-year extension of the Affordable Care Act out of the House. Now, the Senate needs this same pressure from the people because they haven't acted on it. But again, so if we want to push back against ICE, and if we want to reclaim our constitutional freedoms and the norms that we have in this country, where we don't have an arrest first, question later policy where you arrest and then throw somebody in a detention center for months and then question. That's not who we are. That's not how we are. The people have to rise up and just be fierce in their pressure back on Republicans. And we're seeing that now because, now Trump pulled Bovino out of Minnesota. I think ultimately Kristi Noem will probably get sacked. I think she's going to become a sacrificial lamb. The pressure for her impeachment is really mounting. And, that's going to happen. I think Trump will ditch her before that happens. And now the Senate Republicans, and see that the chairman of the House Committee on Homeland Security, Republican, is who are making these people come testify to our committee. And starting to crack a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see. But for all you out there, this is the time to use your voice like you've never used it before, because our country is on the edge like it's never been before.
I agree with you 100%. 100%. The Epstein files, I don't want to get off of that if you don't mind for just a second, because I would like to go back and talk about ICE some more. But the Epstein files, there are a lot of people that are we deal with the doomers and we try to keep them motivated and try to we're really doing this. I see it. I see you people in the committees, in the hearing, just banging away at these things. I mean, it's like everybody just said, oh, they're not going to agree. Oh, well, no, I mean, you can't. Democrats are the minority party. We cannot force the kind of action that people want, but that doesn't mean action isn't happening.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I do know what you're saying.
I mean, it's not like Julie Johnson sitting there saying, "Oh, they don't want to send us what we by law statute they have, our bylaw required to send to us." Well, I'm okay with that. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I tell about it every day, as do my colleagues. I can assure you, Democratic women in the House are pissed off. And but the problem is, and this is again why it's so critical that taking back the House. I see one of the comments here. Yes, when Dems take back the House, the first order of business is contempt, and they're exactly right. When one of the critical issues of the Democrats taking back the House, and I just want people to have these expectations, because are we going to be able to all of a sudden, if we don't also have the Senate, we're going to be limited in what we can do. But there's a lot we can do, namely put these motherfuckers under oath. They come and testify and they're not under oath. And just go back and think of all the times people have been criminally prosecuted for lying to Congress. And, that is a key issue, because these people now, they just come up and say whatever the hell they want to say. And that's not true. And they are lying to the American people, and there's no accountability for that. And when Democrats take control and we have the gavels, we're going to be like, yes, you must come up here. And yes, you will be under oath. And yes, you must tell the truth. And your ass is going to go to jail if you don't. And then, and we can start to exercise real oversight and accountability to the American public for what's happening.
Perfect segue to talk about ICE, because that is my number one thing right there. We have seen ICE agents assault people. We've seen them do things. We saw an ICE agent. I played a video in my show just 2 days ago that an ICE agent just sat there and told a person, "You raise your voice at me, I will eliminate you," basically is what he told them. We've seen ICE agents, people said, "Look, they stole my jewelry. I'm a citizen. I'm here legally. They stole my jewelry and they're not giving it back." And then we see pictures of the ICE agents a couple days later. He's wearing the guy's freaking bracelet. We've seen ICE agents, his dad was an immigrant that was arrested by ICE. His mother owned their pickup truck that the immigrant was in. They had an air tag on it just in case it ever got stolen. They tracked the damn thing. Freaking ICE agent stole the guy's truck. He's driving around in it for a personal vehicle. Nothing done about it, because there's no leader. Corey Lewandowski runs DHS. Kristi Noem doesn't run. This is a modeling gig for her. She runs around, puts on an outfit, reads what they tell her to read. She admitted that the other day. Stephen Miller told me to read this.
Right.
I'll let it go there.
I think she's going down. But you could not be more correct, sir, in terms of what is happening. And so I want your folks to know some of the things that we're doing, so like in the appropriations process, there's multiple ways to get laws and teeth put into things. You can put it in the funding bills. And so I went up and offered some amendments to the DHS funding bill. One was to revamp qualified immunity for these officers, to be able to lessen the standard and lessen the burden of proof so that they can be held accountable when they grossly violate people's rights. Because right now, the status of the law, and I think, again, it's about accountability. If these guys know that they can be prosecuted and that they can be sued, that they can be held criminally and civilly liable for violating these rights, and they hide behind the shield of complete immunity, I think things will change. And when their personal conduct is held to account. Right now, though, there's absolutely no accountability, and the law shields them, and they have huge aspects of protections there. And I think that is a significant thing that needs to happen. And I don't really see that in the negotiated package of the Senate for their 2-week extension. Just saying, take your mask off and put your body camera on. Yes, we need to have that. That's certain. But we have to have teeth and accountability for when these guys go rogue and abuse their power.
But let's be honest, we don't get that till we hold power. We don't.
That's
until
right.
Democrats are in power. We don't get that because the Republicans have been very open, very clear. They have no interest in doing their job, as a co-equal branch of government. None whatsoever. They just let it run till it blows up, and then we'll do some damage control. It appears to be their strategy. Martha Stiegel here doesn't understand. You didn't change districts. You were gerrymandered out of your district. It wasn't you didn't pack up and go to another district. Republicans redrew the map underneath your feet.
Yeah, they've been trying to, I'm a real vocal member. I'm one of the fighters of the caucus, and they're just doing everything they can to shut me down. And so they pieced my existing congressional district that I represent now into 7 different congressional seats. And they just put little pockets of Democrats and voters and then paired them with, like part of my district goes all through North Texas. It's like through Richardson and Addison, and then goes all the way out almost to Louisiana, And so what they did is this new 33rd district is a mixture of my existing 32nd, of the existing 33rd, and the existing 30. They took basically about 35% of mine, 30%, little chunks of each one of those districts and put them together and have that. And so I'm running for that. I have, a very competitive primary, as could use everyone's vote and support. I hope if you're in this district that you'll vote for us and help us out. But it's a hot mess what's happening in this redistricting and what Republicans are trying to do to rig these elections. And the biggest consequence of this, Paul, that I'm so concerned about is if they are successful in making people feel like this is so rigged that their vote doesn't matter, that they don't show up to the poll, then their prophecy becomes true. And we have to make sure that people get out there and vote like they have never voted before, and vote for the people who are actually out there on the ground fighting hard for them, and make sure that they don't let the Republicans succeed at this attempt to A, steal seats, but B, most importantly, demoralize our voting base to where they feel like it just doesn't even matter and they're irrelevant in this government, because then that is when they truly win.
This is the one that gets me. This is the one that gets me. Is there are a lot of people that I call them the doomers, that are out on social media, and every time you talk about the midterms, I'll get 15 or 20 comments from the doomers out of hundreds of comments, 15 or 20. They're not going to let us vote. We're not going to have a midterms election. Everything Trump does, and this is so we can't have the midterms. It's like, people, we're voting in Texas tomorrow.
Yes,
We've been voting for weeks. Every Tuesday we're voting. These elections are not run out of Washington, D.C. And Trump cannot unilaterally declare any kind of situation that would say elections are shut down. No, Congress would have to get involved. It would be like Congress would have to literally be declaring war. There would have to be, this is not something that he can do. I try to explain to people over and over again, elections are run by the states. And if the Republicans decide not to play, we win. I mean, you don't want to hold your elections here in Texas? Okay, the next Congress, you didn't hold elections. Sorry, that's the way the Constitution's written. It's not going to happen. We need to stay motivated and fighting, and that's what it. And they keep. And this is another one that bothers me. And I'll shut up and let you talk. They want to lay that at your feet, Julie. Well, you didn't message well enough to tell me that, and it's like, what?
Right.
What?
Right.
What? You've been told every time you post that comment, you've been told,
Right. The thing is, and then I'm going to have to head out to another thing, but I saw some of the comments over here. I love your audience. I love you guys. I do a lot of these shows, and I'm telling you what, this is the best one because the comments are so awesome. And people, I just love how pissed off you are. I feel like your audience gets my rage like no other group. I feel like I'm in a kindred spirit with you. And I thank you for letting me come back from time to time and get recharged from seeing the rage. Because I think one of the issues is people feel like they're in a vacuum of their rage. You know, they feel like you are all alone and you're the only one that is screaming at your TV and want to think one of the comments said, I'm going to walk on broken glass to vote, you know. And I loved that. I love that commitment. But you are not alone. There is a lot of rage, but you must be involved. You must vote. If you have the capacity, you know, one of the things that I'm really concerned about, and I don't know for those of you who are here in Dallas County, but we have countywide voting. So that means if there's a polling location, you could go to any spot and vote for early, and that's how it's been. But this time, they changed it. Republicans changed it so that on election day, you can only go to your precinct location. Well, everyone's trained to think, I can go anywhere and vote because that's how we've been doing it. But now what's going to happen, they're not going to, even though like my campaign, I'm going to email them, I'm going to text them, I'm going to call them, I'm going to do everything I can to tell them, for the love of God, go vote at the elementary school down the street for you because that's the only place you can go. They're still going to go down to the polling place at the wherever that they've used to voting because that's where they think they can vote. And then they're going to be denied and they're going to say, you cannot vote. And then they're going to go, well, they told me I can't vote. And then they're not going to vote. You know, I'm very worried about that. And then I'm also really concerned about this voter roll purge that we're seeing and the turning of the voter rolls over to the federal government. And that is a 5-alarm fire. And that is something that needs to be done. So this is my message to you. In Texas, you have until February 2nd to register to vote for the upcoming election. If you have moved, if you have a change of address, your voter registration may be canceled. That is what they're using. So if you have been in your same house and your driver's license is the same and you're in the same spot and nothing's changed for you in the last couple of years, your voter registration is fine, especially if you've been voting. Now, if you haven't been voting, they're going to say you're a non-voter. But if you have moved and you didn't update your voter registration, the likelihood of them canceling that is great. So you want to make sure you go in and check your voter registration status and make sure that you are registered to vote. Do not let them deny they're going to do everything they can to keep people away and to keep people from voting. And we just cannot let that happen. That's my 5-alarm fire message until February 2nd. Make sure you're registered.
Absolutely. And I noticed you just got handed something. Thomas reached in and said, we got to,
yes,
so there's something going on. I always appreciate your time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for always being here.
Friend, thank you so much. I appreciate your voice. I appreciate your commitment to the truth and your mobilization of this vast army you have out there. And to all of you out there, stay true, stay firm. Don't let these people take your passion and don't let these people take your purpose, because when we unite together, we'll win.
Before you go, please promise the people watching this show that once we take power back in the midterms, you will hold these ICE agents accountable for murdering Americans on the street.
Absolutely. That is going to be our number one thing to do. Absolutely. This is unacceptable what's happening in this country. You know, I am your voice in Congress. I'm there. I'm screaming every day. Follow me, lift me up. But I'm doing everything I can. I hope you know that every breath I have is to protect this country and our democracy and what we know is right, and for the fairness for all people. And what's happening is absolutely wrong. And I'm with you every step of the way, my brother. Thank you. You guys be good out there.
Enjoy. Glad. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Always so good to have Congresswoman Johnson on the show. She is incredible. She is one of those people, I'm telling you, there's so many Democrats out there that work so hard, and she is so accomplished and so smart and so, I mean, she has forgotten more about how this system works than I will know in my entire lifetime. And they do. They work every damn day for you. And we're so blessed that she can spend her time with us. Skeet Sear, ICE employment question. Do you like NASCAR but hate Michael Jordan? Yeah, I know. It's insane. It is just insane, the things that are going on. And it's even more insane. I don't think that I could have convinced any of you, because I know that was part of the problem we had before the election. You had people like me that were saying, man, you've got to vote, the most important election of our lifetime. And you had people that were out on social media that were saying, you always say that. Well, I'm going to say it again this next election. This is the most important election of your lifetime. If we don't take back both houses of Congress, if we don't punch the Republicans in the mouth and make them scared for their future, their little cushy jobs and all that, they're not going to change. They're not going to change. They're going to double down. If they survive this, you're going to see things twice as worse. I don't know how to make it any clearer. I just don't. Mr. Will, anything to read into this week's cabinet meeting that Noam was only one not to speak and Miller was not at the meeting? Look, I wanted to talk about this with the Congresswoman, but again, she would hang out with us for the whole show. She really would. She's really good people. There's some notification that she just got legislatively. There's something that she's got to be pulled to. There's something moving and shaking. But I wanted to ask her specifically, well, not ask her, but just to get her comment on the fact that Kristi Noem is, again, and I alluded to the fact Corey Lewandowski runs. Did you see her smile when I said that? Corey Lewandowski runs DHS. This is not a hidden secret. This is what they tell people to do. If you have a problem, you call Corey. You don't call Kristi Noem, because Kristi Noem can't help you with your problem. This is a modeling gig for her. So if you're going to pick somebody to throw under the bus, why not pick the person that ain't really doing shit for you, but running around prancing on camera? She's not doing shit for you, other than, running around with her freaky ass Mar-a-Lago face. Why wouldn't they throw her under the bus? Now, Stephen Miller, look, the bigotry is the core of their support. It's everything. It's bitter old fucking white men that want to hurt some brown people and go back to the days where they feel superior. They'll do anything for that. Trump knows this. Stephen Miller ain't going anywhere. He will be the last rat you dig out of that hole. I would bet this hat on it. Stephen Miller is the only person who has a secure job, and he'll fire Pete Hegseth before he fires Stephen Miller. Because, again, bigotry is everything to these people. If they were not scared of us, they would not have attacked Georgia voter rolls. Actually, that's just petty and stupid, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, what's he going to do? The moment that they took those ballots, their credibility disappeared. It just absolutely disappeared. I mean, and again, I was really hoping to get around with this. We'll have to get the Congresswoman back on the show, because I wanted to ask her about this. This is insane. This is what, the second, if they were going to do this, they would have to do it under such daylight and scrutiny But of course, then it would just fail because everything was done ahead of time. But where I'm going with this is, for any of it to have credibility, they would have had to done it with such daylight and scrutiny that everybody said, "Oh, huh, that might be legitimate." But they didn't. They showed up in the middle of the night and started, just carting off boxes. And then this happened. And this is so freaking weird. I can't stress to you how weird this is. I heard her say she thinks Noam could be on the way out. Great interview. That is, I haven't said anything about that, but I'm telling you, everybody I talked to said Kristi Noem should probably start packing up her personal shit. Veggie Owl Girl, don't forget the general strike is today. Thank you for reminding everybody. Thank you for always being here, folks. Thank you for always being here. I cannot stress to you how much y'all add to the show. I just can't. But this happened. This is some freaky shit. You folks will understand better than most because you understand the structure of our government better than most people. I'll be honest with you, I find that most people I interact with on social media really don't understand most basic civics, much less how the government is structured. And if you told them, what does the Director of National Intelligence do? They would tell you direct national intelligence. They don't know. They don't know how critical that job is and the role that the person in that job plays, and how far removed from any election that job is, much less for the Director of National Intelligence to show up when they're just transferring boxes. She went down to Georgia while they were hauling these boxes away. That is weird. It's not even insane. It's weird for the Director of National Intelligence to go. I mean, why? What purpose? And all of these irregularities and all this weirdness, it doesn't matter what they say after this. I mean, you've lost all credibility. When you had the Director of National Intelligence standing in the back of an 18-wheeler with boxes that you're loading, kind of like hiding from the camera, you lost all credibility already right there. It's over. Because that's what elections are. It's, do the American people believe them? Why? Why would the head of our spy agency be involved in this? It doesn't make any sense. And this is the only thing I can actually come to, Skeets here, is that Tulsi Gabbard is another Kristi Noem, that there's somebody actually doing the DNI job. And she just was there on camera, because that was one of the things that people were so upset about when she was handed the job. She's got no credibility. I mean, no skills to do that job. I don't know if you remember. I mean, wasn't her predecessor General Michael Hayden? I mean, she has no business in the job. I mean, this is all just getting weirder and weirder and weirder. But man, I'm telling you, we've just got to keep banging away. We've just got to keep the momentum going. And unfortunately, that came to mind too. I love your comments. That came to mind too. I am limiting what I'm speculating on with this, but this did come to mind. Peter Thiel. Yeah. Because Peter Thiel is tight with our national intelligence apparatus. But I mean, I'm just asking you seriously. This is a question I'm going to pose to you. Let me see it in the chat. Are you going to believe anything that they say about those ballots they took from Joe? And by the way, They did not take those ballots from from California and a Democratic, Secretary of State. No, this is from a Republican. These are boxes of ballots taken from Brad Raffensperger. If anything, the only thing they'll get out of this is they'll try to set up Brad Raffensperger for something. Like, this is part of, like, Trump's dying, so he wants to take a stab at everybody before he dies, and this is him coming after Brad for not finding the 11,007, votes that he wanted. I don't know. When I saw this happen, I just kind of scratched my head because, I just brushed it off as a distraction because it's meaningless in every way, shape, or form. And the only way it could have had credibility is if they'd have done it in broad daylight in front of everyone, clearly telegraphing what they were going to do, what they're looking for. That's the only way it has legitimacy. So nothing they come up with now it's just useless trash. This, to me, that was okay, I will throw a speculation out there. That is what I thought this was all about. He's on like this vengeance tour. He's dying. So he's like taking a stab at everybody before he goes. And this is his stab at Brad Raffensperger. It is less than 40 weeks until the general election. Make sure your voter registration deadline of your voter registration deadlines. Make sure your early voting dates. Vote. Yes, we are days away from your voter registration deadlines to vote in the primaries that are coming up. Yeah, we've got primary elections here in just a few weeks. It's on, baby. Election season came early this year. Early. Of course you do. And don't listen to the people. Let me tell you. Don't listen to the people that tell you don't file your taxes. Don't do that. That's a crime. That is a crime. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Yeah. You want to have a general strike? That's cool. Do that. That's not a crime. That's you making purchasing decisions or decisions to show up at work. That's your business. These people, and again, I get very, very frustrated. I love the passion, but there are way too many people that don't have basic understandings of much when it comes to government, crimes, that are full-throatedly telling people to not pay their taxes. I cannot stress to you how much trouble you would get in over that. And it's federal trouble, people. It's not like even local shit where, it's federal trouble. Don't do that. File your taxes. But look, this crazy shit's going on. This is Booz Allen. It's actually Booz Allen Hamilton, but they've been known as Booz Allen forever. I want to let you see. This is their homepage. The reason it looks so swanky and techno, whatever, is they're a tech firm. They're a tech support firm. They're the kind of people you hire when you're in this kind of situation. The IRS is notorious for being multiple decades behind on technology. They're way back they're decades into the last century in technology. This is an IBM 3480 magnetic tape system. This is IRS is still operating these people, and I want you to take note that this image I'm showing you is not from the IRS and their tape machines. This is from the Computer History Museum. Yeah, that's how old these machines are. You see the date here, 1984. It runs off of these. These are tape cartridges. You remember the old reel-to-reel tapes? the reel-to-reel tapes, I'm sure you do. Some of you are old enough to even have owned them. Some of you that are audiophiles may still own them today. But yeah, that's what this is. It's basically that in a cartridge. They just took the tape, shrunk it down, put it in a cartridge. That's how behind the IRS is on technology. And you can't get a bunch of young bucksnorts fresh out of college that know how to run these things. They just don't. It takes a certain amount of experience and know-how. That's where Booz Allen comes in. They've got some old timers that work over there, and they hire guys like this guy, this young buck snort, to come in. And like IBM, famously, IBM's mainframe runs on COBOL. We've talked about COBOL before, and a lot of things that Doge said that were patently false because the young programmers, big balls and all those guys turned out to be fucking idiots that didn't understand COBOL. So they were putting out a bunch of absolutely false shit because they just didn't understand the programming language. But yeah, this is Charles Edward Littlejohn, actually Chaz, but I refuse to call any human being on the face of the planet besides Chaz Bono Chaz. Sorry, won't do it. Sorry. This guy's in prison. He worked for Booz Allen. They brought him in on the job. He stole a bunch of billionaires' tax information. And I mean a bunch of billionaires. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, Michael Bloomberg, just a ton of people, just billionaires, legitimate billionaires. And then this one guy that was not a billionaire, which his tax records proved, Donald Trump. And he released the information. Most journalistic outlets that he tried to give them to wouldn't touch them. They just wouldn't publish them because it was stolen tax information. That's a crime. This guy's in jail for that crime. Well, not only did he go to jail, but he got Booz Allen's contracts canceled to the tune of like $20 million worth of contracts out the window. We're already seeing confusion and difficulty in this year's return processing. That's not going to help. I'm telling you, it's companies like Booz Allen that kept that place up and running. I mean, this is going to be a disaster. Catland Cat, thank you for being here. Global mental health is in serious problems. The felon with his counterparts are causing so many mental health problems around the world, and that is far more scary to me than most other things. As a Canadian, I'm tired and very stressed. Amen, sister. Amen. Me too. And this is probably a good segue. I like to warn you in advance. I'm going to take some time off, people. I am. I'm going to take some time off. I don't know when, sometime in the next couple months, but I am going to tell you, see ya, and I am going to disappear for a couple weeks so that I can be fully recharged and 100% when it's election time. I got an update, by the way, on Don Lemon. According to the Department of Homeland Security, Lemon is being charged with conspiracy to deprive rights and interfering by force with someone's First Amendment rights. He is due before a magistrate judge in California later today. That shit will get bounced. None of that shit is going to stick. None of it. Mr. Will, been working in taxes for 26 years. Please file your taxes. Yes, and feel free to elaborate in the comments section. People need to know this. You will get yourself hurt very bad. The government, the law's in their favor. They can do a lot of shit to you for not paying your taxes. They really can. But where I was going with this whole Booz Allen stuff, and that, you got Little John that stole the information and released it. That's where you found out. You remember when you found out before the 2020 election that Trump hadn't paid taxes for like years and years and years? He paid no taxes. You remember hearing that? That came out of Little John. That's where that came from. I believe it was the Bulwark that finally published it. And then New York Times jumped in after the Bulwark had already broken it because the cat was out of the bag. Well, Trump is pissed and he's on his revenge tours. So yeah, he is going to set himself up a payday because this is happening. Trump said we hurt his feelings to the tune of $10 billion when everybody found out that, one, he wasn't a billionaire, and two, that, yeah, he doesn't pay taxes. So now we owe him $10 billion. We, the taxpayers, now owe him $10 billion. The crux of his lawsuit is that the IRS didn't do a good enough job of watching what Booz Allen was doing. So this youngster, and I promise you, he was not one of the lead people. He was not. They're saying this kid was able to get his hands on this kind of information when he never should have been able to. All true. The kid should have never been able to get his hands on that info. I've worked with sensitive information before, and I will tell you, you get told repeatedly, if you access certain accounts, we're going to get a red flag. We're going to march you down to human resources. We're going to make you justify why you access this account, because we have certain people that are coded that are allowed to access these accounts. And if you access this account and you are not authorized as one of the agents that are allowed to access this account, because in every major organization, I don't care if it's an insurance company, I don't care if it's an investment firm, they all have senior people that have access to specific. I'm talking about, pick an actor, pick a popular actor. When he gets insurance or she gets insurance, there's somebody at that insurance company that handles accounts like that to prevent embarrassing things from happening. So that some low-level person that's worked for the company for 6 months can't get you the risk assessment pictures of their $1 million home and leak it to TMZ. It's every organization has like, okay, Robert De Niro. Robin Hood comes in with Robert De Niro. When Robert De Niro decides to invest some money and he goes to a new investment firm and he sets up an account, one, there's a specific agent that is assigned to handle accounts like Robert De Niro's because they understand the risks involved with exposure, exposing information. And there are people that are just the only ones authorized. There's a code and a line of code that goes with their access that allows them to access these accounts. Someone without that code accesses one of these accounts, it automatically kicks out a red flag. The IRS is decrepit. It is ancient. It needs to be modernized. It does. And so this kid was able to get away with it. Trump should sue the Republicans in Congress because they're the ones that would never allow us Democrats. We've tried multiple times to modernize the IRS so that they can have the same kind of security everybody else does. But no, Republicans will not let us do this. They will not, because they don't want the IRS modernized and efficient, because their donors don't want the IRS modernized and efficient. They want them working on systems that are ancient. That's what they want. But yeah, so Donald Trump and Lindsey Graham think that we should pay them money. But I'm absolutely certain that Scott Bessent is not going to just roll over and pay this frivolous lawsuit. Can't believe I said that with a straight face. I can't believe I said that with a straight face. No, Donald Trump's going to smash and grab, and he's going to grab billions of dollars out of our treasury, and there ain't a fucking thing we can do about it because some idiots in the last election decided Gaza was the most important thing in the universe. I said it. God, people. I'm telling you. I am telling you. There is some good news, though. We had a judge that got out of line in Virginia. Just a circuit court judge. Nobody important. It's this guy, Judge Jack Halsey. So the Republicans in the state went judge shopping and tried to stop the Democrats from redistricting. And this guy lost his damn mind. I mean, he really did. He lost his damn mind. First of all, he ruled for the Republicans based on a constitutional amendment that has not been part of Virginia's Constitution since 1971. I'm not even shitting you. I'm not even shitting you. There used to be in the Virginia Constitution a law. I mean, it was a law that said if you want to make changes to elections, you've got to post a 90-day notice with your clerk at the clerk's office so that everybody can know. The clerk has to post a notice 90 days before the election. That hasn't been part of the Virginia Constitution since 1971. It is, however, still state regulation. Not only did this guy lose his frickin' mind and just put a stop to all redistricting based on an argument on a constitutional amendment that is no longer in the Constitution. He ruled that bills that weren't even passed yet, that the legislation was working on, were also illegal. I mean, let that sink in for a second. The legislation, because of this 90-day rule, they were passing, Democrats control both houses of Congress in Virginia. They were passing laws to repeal that regulation because it was just a regulation at the time. They were passing laws in both houses to just get rid of that. So we're not doing it. We're not doing it. We are going to redistrict. We're not going to delay. This is it. This is going to happen. Just like the Republicans do, whatever rules we got to change, they're going to get a taste of their own medicine. We're doing it. This judge told them, you can't do that. Based on, trust me, bro, I said so. Yeah. Again, a lowly circuit court judge in a Buxtehude corner of Virginia just ruled that redistricting couldn't go forward, and there's nothing that you and the legislator can in the legislation can do about it. That's going to get bounced. It's already, Democrats have already appealed. The Democrats have already appealed. That's what I say. It's good news. But they're going to bounce that decision so freaking fast and so freaking hard. Part of one of the things that they're doing is they're looking to actually censure this judge and censure members of the Virginia legislature for going judge shopping. They went down and they found that old reprobate who was dumb enough to make those rulings because no one else would touch it. No one else would touch it. The arguments that we're making were utter nonsense. They've already been decided. Texas took care of that. But I just want you to understand the key takeaway from that. Old white dudes aren't okay. They're not. They're not. This guy's not a newbie to the bench. It's not like he doesn't know that something is no longer a constitutional amendment. He's not sundowning. He just wrote it up the way he thought would throw a wrench in the works for as long as possible. Fuck the law. A circuit court judge was more Republican than judge in Virginia. And that's what we're facing all over this country. All over this country. We just saw the murder of Alex Preddy. We saw the United States government just deny what you see with your own eyes. You just saw them deny it. And then they started slandering Alex Preddy. Donald Trump just posted today because a video came out of Alex Preddy at a previous. It looks to be AI altered, but it's a video of Alex Preddy kicking the back of an ICE vehicle, and the taillight pops out. Which, folks, if you're ever in a junkyard, try that. Try kicking the taillight out of a car. I don't mean kicking and breaking the taillight. I mean literally kicking the taillight out of a car. I don't know. The whole thing. And then when he kicks the taillight, from that moment on, when it falls out of the car, the Ford emblem on the car disappears. I mean, it's weird. It looks manipulated, and the source is suspect anyways. It was shared by Don Jr., which tells you it came out of one of those backwoods ass Republicans. But anyways, the whole point of it is to make Alex Preddy look like he was just some sort of violent criminal. Well, even in their video, it didn't work. And there's something else that's kind of AI about it too. The positioning of his gun, which is exposed in that video. ICE agents jump on him and throw him to the ground, bend him over and throw him on the ground in that video. His gun, it's not on his hip and it's not in the small of his back. It's kind of halfway in between. And I can tell you, this isn't conclusive evidence, but I don't know a single solitary soul that wears their gun over there. It was just in the weirdest damn position. It was kind of like that's where his t-shirt pulled up. So that's where they had to put it. You know, kind of looked like to me. But yeah, they think that makes a difference. The fact that he, in another video, did not ever touch his gun, was taken down by ICE agents, did not fight them, didn't punch a single ICE agent, even in their own bullshit video they just released. It's the same damn thing. And oh yeah, that's the other one. Thank you. God, I love you people so much. Y'all are so on top of it. So on top of it. In this video, identical clothing. All of it from the clothes he was murdered in. It's identical clothing. Just happened supposedly, like 10, 11 days apart, had two altercations with federal agents in the exact same outfit. There's so many questions about that video, but you know what? Don't even go down that road. Just for a moment, accept that video 100%. What does it show? ICE put their hands on him. He complied. He went down. They took him down to the ground and apparently didn't arrest him. Again, another reason I think this is a bullshit video. They didn't arrest him. He supposedly kicks the taillight out of their car, magically somehow kicks the emblem. Try that. Go out and find a car and try to kick the emblem off the back of it. Kicks the Ford emblem off the back of the vehicle, which isn't even shown in the video. It just disappears. Wearing the exact same, just ignore it all. He never fought back. Never touched his weapon. So they want to tell you, and the president of the United States is posting about it today as though it proves it was cool. It was cool we murdered that dude. Obviously violent. Had to go. Colleen says that video was so manipulated, in my opinion. Same clothes as the day he died. I know. There's so much to question about that video. But the bottom line is, the real take from it is they're still trying to slander him. They're trying to give their base, which doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. An excuse to say, it's okay, we murdered him. Because most of his base was already on board. They're okay. They don't care. Want to murder him? Go ahead. And another way that they're running into a brick wall over this is their base, being horrible human beings, keep posting over and over again. Well, what about Laken Riley? She was a murder victim, and she was killed by an immigrant. Okay. She was also killed by a man. So what you're saying is Laken Riley was killed by an immigrant, so all immigrants are bad and all immigrants have to go. Okay. She was also killed by a man, so all men are bad and all men have to go. Oh, and by the way, Laken Riley's murderer was held accountable. He's tried and convicted and sits in a prison cell right now today. And you don't even know Alex Preddy's name. Alex Preddy's murderer's name. You don't know which agent did it. He's a federal employee who murdered an American citizen on the streets of Milwaukee. This guy restores cars for a living. He is very hands-on. That was my exact. I've replaced taillights before. Long ago, my friend, I used to turn wrenches, and I will tell you, no, when I saw that video, I was like, bullshit. Mr. Will says, Paul, I'm a car guy. A kick will not make a taillight fall out. It is bolted from the inside, and kicking it 100 times, it will not fall out like that. Never. That was the red flag for me. That was the red flag for me. And it's such a bullshit glancing kick either. It's not like he turns sideways into it and roundhouses into it or anything like that. It's just his foot hits it sideways. It wouldn't even knock you down, and it supposedly knocks a damn taillight out of a car. Those things are not easy. You can crack the lens, don't get me wrong, but for it to fall, no, that video was bullshit. That's what I say when something's bullshit. That's me in the real. That's not for the show. That's me in real life. I do that all the time. When somebody tells me something, that's what I do. Bullshit. My wife hates that shit. She does. She hates it. Shut up. You sound stupid. I hate people who blame the mass for the crimes of an individual. Yep. But look, the president of the United States is still desperate because he's losing immigration. He's losing immigration. And why is he losing immigration? You did not comply. The people in Minnesota stood up, and you made sure everybody saw that they murdered Renee Good. You made sure everybody saw that they murdered Alex Preddy. And yes, Mr. Porter was murdered also, but there was no cell phone footage of that. Phones out, people. Record everything. Cape Mary Light. Alex was also a government employee at the VA. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. But yeah, I was glad to hear Congressman Johnson telling you directly that is the number one priority for them. They will hold these ICE agents accountable. If we do our job, if we keep momentum going, stop the doomers, don't let their narratives slow us down. It's voter suppression. There are people, and I'm gonna end with this. I've said this before. I'm not telling you what is legitimate to you. I'm telling you what's legitimate to me. And there are legitimate complaints that I hear about Chuck Schumer. Just a few years back, taking AIPAC money was not a bad thing. Most Americans supported Israel as an ally. They were an ally. They did. And then you saw what Netanyahu did. And as they say, the rest is history. War crimes, legitimate genocide, driving these people off of their land, killing them wholesale. And I'm not one of those people that went from, okay, Israel's an ally to, okay, Israel has to be destroyed. So many people on social media went from there to there. I'm not. I know there are left-leaning people in Israel. You've heard me say it, but 1,000 times before. That's like people saying, okay, America has to be destroyed because of Trump and all the awful shit that Trump keeps doing. No, we're here doing this, fighting Trump, trying to get power taken away from him. The same thing exists in the left. It does. In Israel, there's a left in Israel that is fighting Netanyahu every day, doing exactly what we're doing here. So no, I'm not Israel is evil. But there are people out there that hate Chuck Schumer because he's a Jew. That's real. And they spend all day, every day on social media. It doesn't matter. Chuck Schumer could empty his bank accounts and donate it all to St. Jude's. And they would say, well, it's about time he did that. It's about time he did something. They live to shit on Chuck Schumer. It is legitimate to me to say, you know what? Too much support for Israel for too long when we needed to be pulling support back. Legitimate, 100%. I agree with you. But to not allow somebody to modify their position, to not allow, because to me, it smacks of hate, not legitimate concern. So yeah, I'm having a real problem with that. And a lot of it is straight up voter suppression. They're not just attacking Chuck Schumer, they're attacking the Democratic brand. It doesn't matter what Democrats do. We put them in the minority. We took their power away. And these same accounts that constantly, it does not matter what Chuck Schumer does, they will attack Chuck Schumer. They will attack the Democratic Party. And they happen to be the same accounts that told us not to vote in the last election because of Gaza. I hate to wade into this ugly shit. I really do. But I'm going to start calling a bigot a bigot. I am. And I'm going to start calling out these people that pretend to be leftists. They're trying to sandbag the Democratic Party. I'm going to start calling them out for what they are. If someone makes a legitimate complaint about somebody, fine. But like I've said before, Chuck Schumer's primary is in 2028. My job is getting to people to vote in the midterms, staying motivated because they're murdering Americans on our streets. They're sending police forces, mass police forces that are unaccountable, that are stealing from American citizens. They're assaulting American citizens. I've showed you multiple videos of ICE agents. You know, remember the one where the guy walked up and didn't like that this woman was filming her engagement with him? Didn't say anything nasty to him or nothing, and he just slaps her phone out of her hand. That's an assault. That's an assault. No accountability. Cop can't just do that. Do you remember the woman that Alex Purdy was trying to help up? Yeah, that's an assault. If a cop does that to you, that is assault. A cop just can't walk up to you and slam you to the ground. That wasn't allowed when Democrats ran the thing. That wasn't allowed. That wasn't the country that your father gave, your mother gave to you. That didn't exist. That's a new creation by Republicans where they're saying, lick the fucking boots. We're in charge now. Lick the fucking boots. These are our dogs. We've cut them loose. Suck it up, Buttercup. Well, no, fuck that noise. I will not comply. I will not comply. Anyways, folks, that's what I've got for you today. I do appreciate you. Mouthy Gen Xer, YouTube is censored. What I'm trying to ask you about PDF, GF, and what happened in Fed court the other day. I do not understand that. I do not understand what you're talking about. PDF, GF, I don't know. Scott's, how about the new protest music? Oh man, there's some great stuff. There's some great stuff. In fact, I'll put a link. I'll go back after the show and put a link. I don't know if y'all like Everlast as much as I do. He comes up with these songs just at the right time, and he has a brand new one called Blood on the Wheel about the protests against ICE, and fantastic. My friend Brando's got a great song about Minnesota. There is so much good protest music coming out right now. This feels like we're living through the 60s. You know, all that great music that came out of the 60s that was coming out of the protest movement. That's what it feels like. We always, as old timers, we're like, where are the Bob Dylans? Where are the Arlo Guthries of this generation? Where are the, because we had so many incredible musicians. I mean, be honest, folks. Looks didn't matter to us. Johnny Cash was hard to fucking look at. He really was, but the music is what mattered. The music is what mattered, And I think we're getting back to that. I think we're getting back to it. But yeah, thanks for bringing up the protest music. There you go. Colleen Sarah, Renee Good, and Alex Purdy were both unalived and I'll add white males. They were both unalived by white males. Although I really can't say that, can I? Because they haven't divulged who the agent was that murdered him in the street. They've just lifted the middle finger and told us that we're not entitled to that information. Bullshit. We have some definite fans in the audience today. Definite. But yeah, that's what I've got for you here today. That's what I've got for you here today. I hope it's useful. I had wonderful. I'm so grateful to Congresswoman Johnson for joining us. It is so good to hear uh, our Democrats in Congress working and understanding what's going on. I'm going to keep track of what's going on with this negotiation. Right now, I need you to understand this. Skeet says America is what Bob Marley sung about. That music really fits in this space. Yep. Yep. A lot of it really does. You're looking way better. Have a good weekend. Thank you, Carl. I appreciate you, man. I am feeling much better. I'm feeling much better. But yeah, streets of Minneapolis, Blood on the Wheel, so many good tunes out there right now. I have lost, if you can't tell, I've lost track of what my closing statement was going to be. So I do apologize. I'll remember about 5 minutes after the show. Been seeing some news about unstoppable recession coming to the United States. I hope you're prepared for that. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I believe what I was going to wrap up with, and I can't remember exactly how I had it tied in, but it was that. It was preparing yourself. You really have to understand right and wrong doesn't mean shit to these people. It doesn't. The rule of law doesn't mean shit to Republicans. It really doesn't. Yes, we're going to have elections because they've got to have them for legitimacy. Yes, they're going to try to cheat. They're going to try to screw with your voter registration. I believe I told you all the story about one election here in Texas I went to. I kept track of my my voter registration because that's what I do. I don't just tell you to do it. I do it. Went to go check on my voter registration and the address was wrong. I didn't change it. And I sure as hell didn't change it to an address that wasn't the last address I lived at. It was the address before that. I hadn't lived at that address for decades. And suddenly my voter registration was at that address. Not the one I had previously voted in the last several years and currently lived at. Someone somewhere in the state of Texas changed that fucking address without my permission. And yes, I did correct it because I caught it. My point in all that, Martha, is they're going to cheat. They always have. You know, when I say they're going to cheat, I always call attention to like the signature match bills that they're so fond of pushing through. Well, why can't we have a signature match bill? Why can't we have that? Well, because dumbass, when you go down to the DMV, you sign on a little plastic rubber box that's this big. You sign your signature. But if I handed you a legal document with a line this long and no box on top of it, your signature would not be the same. Like, say, I don't know, your voter registration form. If you're not writing your signature on the same substance with the same type of pen, if you're using one of those touch pens and signing your name down at the DMV on a little rubber pad that's been half-ass worn out, your signature is going to be different than when I hand you a piece of cardstock paper and a ballpoint pen. But they passed signature match legislation that uses computers with a mathematical score to compare your signatures. And if there's enough of a mathematical difference between the two, your ballot don't count. Your registration is kicked out. It's bullshit. I could have you sign go find 5 documents, 5 different situations that you signed your name. Your signature will not match. How many times have you gone to sign your signature and then you caught up on one of the wrong, one of the letter? Shit. Go back and, they cheat. That's what they do. That's what they do. They don't put enough voting machines in Democratic districts so that you've got to wait in line. Yeah, I know. Skeets here says your story confirms the purpose of Palantir. They are absolutely going to, thank you for the segue, and I'll land this plane now. They're absolutely going to challenge your voter registration. They're going to challenge your validity. They're going to find some guy that's not you or some gal that's not you that is a convicted felon somewhere. And just because you're both John Smith, they're going to challenge your voter registration. And you're going to have to prove to the state that you're not a convicted felon. That's real, man. But whenever you get tired and frustrated and think you might not want to go to the trouble to keeping after everything, or you think enough people are going to show up and vote, just remember they're killing Americans on the street and telling you you're not going to hold them accountable for it. There's nothing you can do. And see if that doesn't motivate you to get down and make sure your registration is taken care of and you will show up to vote. Like tomorrow, right here in the state of Texas, there are 2 seats, Sylvester Turner's old seat, and then we've got another election here in Tarrant County where I need everybody to show up and vote for Taylor Rimmen. He's a good man, union man, veteran. Let's get it done, people. Let's turn out. Remember that election down in South Carolina? Less than 2 dozen ballots made a difference in a blood red district. If 2 dozen more people had shown up, we'd have flipped that district. 2 dozen. Your vote matters. If you're in Tarrant County and you're a Democrat, your vote matters. Get out and get it done, folks. That's what I have for you today. On that note, enjoy some Texas cities at night.